In Epiphany, the feast in which we recall that the news about Jesus was spread to the non-believing world. That is to say, Epiphany is a feast about evangelization, about the spread of this experience of the living God. So evangelization, something, as we know, that's in serious need of in the present age. For so many of our contemporaries really know nothing about Jesus Christ, or have any particular interest in him, or in God, or in the church. So why is it that so many of our contemporaries have no interest in God, or the church, or in Jesus Christ? Well, some of them, I think, would say that the church basically is boring, it's old-fashioned, it's repressive, and narrow-minded. It really has nothing to offer me. Others would say the belief in God is only for people that are not very intelligent, who really can't figure things out on their own, who just need to have this kind of belief in somebody, a God who's, clarifying things for them. If only they were smarter, more intelligent, better educated, they really wouldn't have to pay any attention to God. Others would simply say that I don't need God. I can have a good life, I can be a good person, I can be happy without God. And that's really the crux of the problem in the modern age. So many believe that God is simply an optional extra for people who are weak. I do not need God to live a happy life, to be a good person, and to be a productive citizen. Don't need him. Well, the evidence of people actually living great and happy lives, of people having dealt with all their issues in the world, is not really, there's not a whole lot of evidence that this is happening. I don't really, frankly, see a whole lot of people out there who are thriving, who are confident, who are loving, who are generous. Because, frankly, there's a whole lot of things in life that we're not meant to do on our own. We're not created to be independent. We are created with real needs, human needs, for which we need the intervention of a saving God. Here are three ordinary needs of the human person we really can't deal with on our own. The first of them is simply the problem of suffering, sadness, challenge, difficult things in life. Now we can get help from our friends, we can get help if it's medical from the medical community, but the reality of life is every single day there's going to be something that isn't going the way we think it ought to, and sometimes we're going to be dealing with things that are really hard for a long period of time, and human beings are not that strong. If you want to really deal with the challenges of life, you're so much better off believing in a God who cares for you. Believers, non-believers, we all have to deal with struggles. The only question is, what's the best way to deal with it? By yourself, or with this confidence of God that he's with you in your suffering. We know the fundamental sign of the Christian faith is the image of a crucified God, a God who enters into human suffering. He enters into our suffering, and he triumphs over it. Christian faith is very much about believing that in our woundedness, we are not alone, but God is with us, and he says, do not be afraid, I am with you, all will be well. It's hard to deal with a lot of stuff in life just in your own power, because we weren't created with the capacity to deal with a variety of things that we need to deal with. The second part of human experience that we all have to kind of work at is this sense of being always loved and supported and valued. Human beings need it for their own contentment, but also for a sense of their own identity. I am a man made by God, loved by him. This is a fundamental part of my identity, a person's identity. And to know that we are loved, we are valued in good times and in bad, and this love is not going away, and that we're never going to be abandoned, this is a fundamental source of strength for human beings. So many people in our day feel lonely. They feel unloved or unsupported in love. And this is a very hard thing on the human heart. How do you bear this, going through a day, going through your life, not really feeling supported or loved, and having to deal with a lot of stuff that's hard? Christian faith is a fundamental gift of affirming us as loved, precious, beautiful persons. Whether things are going well or not going well, that's who we are. It helps us to get things in perspective because we are part of an eternal loving, out of which we arose and towards which we are headed. The third part of human experience that we really need a good bit of help with is loving each other. Love is a term, of course, that's widely thrown around with rather a large, wide range of meanings, but often it's not got the real meaning, which is self-giving out of a desire for the other to know they're valued and so that I might grow as a person. To love other people is not actually that natural. Oh, it's maybe natural to feel attracted to other people, to feel comfortable with, but a loving that is a transformative loving is something more than we have built into our own capacity. We need somebody to teach us, what does love look like? We need somebody to give us the strength we need to love beyond our personal capacity. Because love is meant to be something that changes the world, not something that simply makes us feel comfortable and good about ourselves. It's about something that changes the world because it calls us to something radically new, a surrender and a trust into God, who says that He's watching over us and that He is in every person. We need strength. We need strength to deal with suffering, to know that we are loved, and to love well. So it's Epiphany, it's a piece about evangelization, and it's part of the Christian life to share our faith with other people. And the most basic way in which we do this is by providing them with good example. Living in the world with a confidence in God. So we deal with the same things as our non-believing neighbors. Deal with these big issues of suffering in our life, feeling love, learning how to love. We deal with the same things as they do, but we have the added benefit of God who's close to us, and so we are meant to be modeling for them what a higher loving looks like, what a greater confidence in suffering looks like, what a solid self-awareness as a loved person, what it looks like. There's many out there who are dealing with all of these ordinary human issues without a whole lot of strength. We ourselves are meant to, even if we're going to struggle with this, we're still struggling with being loving, but the fact is we have a whole lot more assistance with it than those who do not believe. And we are called to witness to a better way of living, a stronger way of living, a more confident way of living, and a greater sense of my own worth and value. We are called to witness the transformative benefit of a living God in the details of ordinary human life. Before we even say the words, we got to do the deed. We got to look like we're doing that. Not because we do it perfectly, but because we do it at all. None of us are going to deal with our sufferings very perfectly, but frankly, we're much more able to deal with them than those who have no sense of a God who's with us in the woundedness of our days. Human life is challenging. It's for believers, for non-believers. The only question is how you're going to deal with it. But we, as those who believe in a living God, have so much greater capacity to deal with these things that human beings need to deal with. We do it for our good, but we also do it as part of the saving work of Jesus Christ, because He loves all those people up there who know nothing about Him. He wants them to have the benefit of knowing him. And our modeling of what it looks like in ordinary human life is a fundamental witness to an unbelieving world.